Okay, so for the topic 1, the first thing we're going to be looking at is the domain and range. And the domain, remember, are your x values, and the range, remember, are your y values. So when we're looking at listing these, we need to list them in order from least to greatest, and we'll set them in set brackets. So my domain is 5, 6, 7, 8. Put a comma between each one. My range, on the other hand, is the y values listed in order. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to determine, is this a function or not? So to determine if it's a function, we need to look at, are there any x values that repeat? And none of them get repeats, so this one is a function. So again, we're going to look at the domain first. Your domain are your x values. So number 2, -2, -1, 3, and 5 are your x values. And then your y values are your range, which in this case is just 3 numbers, -7, 0, and 4. Since there's no arrow that leaves an x value twice, so in other words, we don't have another one that does like this, then it is a function. So now again, let's look at domain. Remember, this time we have a graph. So when we're looking at domain, we're looking at from left, comma, right, because we have a line. And remember, on the left-hand side, to start it, you're going to have square brackets or a parenthesis. The right hand, you're going to have square brackets or a parenthesis. So let's look at this one. My farthest to the left is at -4. My farthest to the right is at 1. So my domain is from -4 to 1. Now, at 4, I have a closed dot, so that means I can be there, so that's a square bracket. At 1, I have the open dot, which means I can't be there, so that is the parenthesis. Now let's look at our range. The range are your y values. And when we're looking at range, it is low, comma, high. Again, we have the brackets and the parentheses is what we're using on each end. So my lowest value is 1, 2, 3, so -3. My highest value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so +5. So from -3 to +5 are my y values. At -3, I have an open circle, so that's a parenthesis. At +5, I have a closed circle, so that's a square bracket. Is this a function? So when we have a line like this and we're trying to determine is it a function or not, you look and see, can I draw a line and it touch this black line more than once? And the answer is no. So it is a function. So again, let's go ahead and do the same thing with a new equation, graphed. So domain is left, right. So my farthest from the left is at this point, although my farthest to the right, if I follow on the lines, it ends up with an arrow. So that means it's going to the right, so positive infinity. So 1, 2, 3, so negative 3 is my starting point. I can be there because there's a line there. So it's a square bracket, comma, my farthest to the right is infinity because it has an arrow. Now let's erase this and let's look at it for the range. So looking at a range, my farthest down is going down with an arrow. So that would be negative infinity. My farthest up is going up with an arrow, so positive infinity. So it's negative infinity, comma, positive infinity. And I can be at both locations. So now let's do our vertical line test. When I test it here at this point, I see that I'm actually touching the line 2 times. So that means this is not a function. So now let's go on to the next page. Oops. And so when we're looking at this next page, we're still doing that first set of notes. And so it asked me to find g of negative 5. So that means I go to my g function, and I'm going to plug a negative 5 in. So negative 5 x squared, so x squared is negative 5, so negative 5 squared minus 8 times negative 5 plus 21. And you can go straight to your calculator and type this all in as long as you put parentheses around your negative 5. And when you do that, you're going to come up with the answer of 86. And that is the answer. So let's do number 6. 6 is working with the f function. So negative 4, I'm replacing my x with 11 twelfths plus 1. When I type that in my calculator, I come up with negative 8 thirds. That is my answer. So on the next one, I have multiple things going on. I have to find h of 8. So let's start there. My h function says that I am going to replace my x with an 8. So 9 minus 3 times 8 inside the absolute value. So 9 minus 24, which gives us a negative 15. And the absolute value of that is 15. So that's step 1. I got to one of my numbers. Now I've got to do the next one. F of negative 7. So in my f function, I'm going to replace the x with a negative 7. So 28 plus 1. And again, you could do that all in your calculator. Comes up with 29. But we're not done yet. We go back to the original, and it says h of 8, 15, minus, so let me change out colors so you can see where I'm going with this a little bit better. So 15 minus 29 is equal to a negative 14, and that's your answer. So let's do this next one. So g of 4 of x, that means I go in my g function. I have my item squared, so in this case my item is x plus 4, my input squared, minus 8 times my input, plus 21. So here, I can easily do the last part. Negative 8 to each part gives me negative 8x plus minus 32 plus 21. But this front section takes a little bit more work. And there's two different ways you could actually work through that one. And so one way is to use what's called the box method. So that means you're taking the x plus 4 and the x plus 4. So x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. X times 4 is 4x. 4 times 4 is 16. And so we go ahead and combine like terms. And when you combine like terms, this diagonal right here tends to always combine. So we have x squared plus 8x plus 16. So now we're going to combine like terms. There is nothing like the x squared, so x squared gets written down. We have 8x minus 8x gives us 0x, because they just basically cancel out. 16 minus 32 gives us a negative 16, plus 21 gives us a plus 5. So that is your answer. So now let's go to the next set. And this one right here, number 8, is going to be very similar to a bonus question. It's not going to be exactly like it, but it'll be very similar. So let's look at this next one. So f of x function, in case you forgot, since it's no longer up here, is what's going on with that? It's equal to 4x, and negative 4x plus 1. So what this is telling me is f of x is equal to 53. So that means 53 is equal to f of x. So I subtract the 1. 52 is equal to negative 4x. Divide by negative 4. And so x is equal to a negative 13. So that's your answer. So let's now take the next problem. So we have to work with our h of x formula this time, which is our absolute value at 9 minus 3x. So this time it tells us 39 is equal to 9 minus 3x. And for rewriting purposes, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it to where 9 minus 3x is on the left, because that's the way we're most familiar with it. So anytime we have absolute value, we have to split it into two different functions. One where we equal a positive 39, and one time where we equal a negative 39. So 9 minus 3x is equal to both things, because basically we're looking for our inside either be positive or negative, because either way, it will come out as a positive answer. So we're going to subtract the 9 from both sides. And so we have negative 3x is equal to 30. Divide by negative 3. And so x is equal to a negative 10. We're going to again subtract by negative 9 on both sides. And so we have negative 3x is equal to a negative 48. And when I divide both sides by negative 3 this time, x is equal to 14. So those are my two solutions. But that's not the best way to write it. So we write it as x is equal to the set And we write them in order, -10, 14. And what I mean by order is numeric order from least to greatest. And that's the end of that topic 1 section. We will come on and talk about topic 2 next.